Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What would you say you do here?
God damn it. Bob, we love playing here tonight. My brother's ready.
It helps if you think of it as a game, Bob. Every game has a winner and a loser.
You must possess strength to inflict pain, Bob.
Yo, what is up? Welcome to episode 28 of the Two Bobs Cast. We're an A to Z rock and metal podcast. We started at A. It's been a long journey. Today, we are on
the Oregon Trail.
Yeah, it is. Hopefully, we don't get dysentery. Right?
Yes.
We are
wants that.
all the way to Q again. We are at part 2 of the band Queen. We did first part last time, and we're going to wrap them up now. So I am here once again with my partner, my esteemed co-host, Mr. H. What's up, Mr. H? How you doing today?
I'm doing really, really good.
Good to hear.
Really good. It's Tuesday. It's raining. It's cold. It's pretty nasty outside. So
and going to get colder.
Good time to sit in here and talk about Queen.
Yep. So we did all the 70s albums in part 1. And then
cut off nicely.
Yeah. Sometimes it works out nicely. Things it's almost like they're meant to be. So we're starting in 1980, and we're going to work into the early 90s with Queen and knock out the rest of their albums. So I guess we will go ahead and get started right where we left off.
Knock them out.
Where are we at, Mr. H?
We're at The Game from June 30th, 1980. Now they changed producers here. They have Reinhold Mack now producing. Probably half or more than half of these albums coming up here with Queen. It's the only Queen album to hit a U.S. number 1, pretty much on the strength of Another One Bites the Dust. It's considered a funk song. It was a favorite of a huge fan of theirs, Michael Jackson, and they released it as a single at his suggestion. He's like, "Man, you got to put that out there." So they did, and now it's had 2 billion plays or whatever. My favorites on here are Play the Game, although it's a weird choice for a track 1. They make some weird choices, I noticed, in the second half here on track 1s, where I'm like, sometimes it's really slow and kind of a downer of a song. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So it's just weird. But, there's also some great ones like, We Will Rock You. So sometimes they get it right, sometimes they don't. But I like Dragon Attack a lot. Obviously, Another One Bites the Dust. That's up there is one of my favorite Queen songs is for a lot of people. I like Crazy Little Thing Called Love too. The skippers on this one are none. I like this whole album. So all of it was either stuff I really liked or stuff that I was like, I could just leave this on. Like, this is pretty good. Sounds great. It's got different styles throughout, but it's all kind of in a rock vein. So there's no holes in it for me. Like it's all kind of within the same kind of pocket, just exploring the boundaries. So I got no skippers on this one. I really like the whole thing. This is an A- for me. I got this number 1 of the second half. What did you think of The Game?
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. This was actually surprising to me how much I liked this album.
Me too.
It just kind of snuck up on me. Probably, honestly, the only one of the back half, spoiler, I guess, alert, that kind of squeezes in the first half of their catalog for me. This one, it meshes in nice. So a little note of this. So, and we didn't mention this before, a thing that Queen used to do on their albums, they would put in the actual album, either the artwork or the booklet, they would say that they don't use any synthesizers on any of their material.
Yeah.
And this time, we have synthesizers.
Almost synthesizers from here on out. Basically.
Every album, now.
Right.
So.
It was from that was another good way to split it.
Yep.
No synthesizers, all synthesizers.
Yep. And they start it right away. Track 1, the whole
Yeah.
intro to the song "Play the Game" is all like whirly, weird noises and stuff.
Yep.
So it kind of opened up their world to this album. But yeah, this is a really good album. Really rock heavy, especially with how experimental they were getting in some of their other stuff. This is pretty straight rock. They don't really go off the path a little bit. Another one, Bites the Dust, like you said, it's more funk, and unfortunately kind of leads to a mistake later on of an album where they're like, well, we're going to do stuff the style of and they don't really nail it, but they nailed it with this one. So same as you, Play the Game, Dragon Attack is phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
And Brian May, man, the songs that he writes are just sweet. I think honestly, while Freddie is obviously the voice and he's kind of gets all the recognition, I think a lot of Brian May's writing credits are some of their better songs, especially some of the ones that aren't their hits that kind of just strong the album. So
of one or two of those later, actually,
absolutely
aren't hits, but are sound good because the man, when he plays rock and does rock guitar riffs, like I love what he does. Like I wish, and I haven't explored a lot of his solo stuff. I know there's some stuff out there, but like I wish I could get a whole album of him just like rock riffing and them playing just a hard rock album all the way through, because that guy, he's fantastic. But he can play anything. So of course it lends itself to whatever Freddie's doing. He can play along with that too, because the guy can play anything. He's fantastic. He's unbelievable. So
Yep, absolutely. So Dragon Attack is clutch. Another one, Bites the Dust, like you said, just classic song. Crazy Little Thing Called Love.
Baseline, ridiculous, just ridiculous.
Yep, that was a big
like the
moment.
Stairway to Heaven of bass players. Like like you walk into a music store or something, they probably got to tell you to stop playing that. Just like no Stairway, don't play another one. Bites the Dust.
Yep. And actually, I think this has one of the best closing tracks of a lot of their albums. Save Me is just real big.
Yeah,
and it's like a great way to end the album. Just a real grandioso song. So
also written by May.
Yeah,
like you said.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
And he played acoustic guitars, electric guitars, piano, and synthesizer. He played all four of those on this album. He played almost all of the instruments on that song.
Yep.
So
yeah, he's a genius in many ways. So, but yeah, this one again for me, number one of the back half. Nice. Easy number one for me. I love the game.
Man.
I would have it as a B, so I have it squeezed. We'll talk about our 1 to 14 at the end.
Yes,
but yes. So number one of the second half, easy. The game for me.
Back-to-back home runs on top of the first for us on that one, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right, Flash Gordon up next, also in 1980, December 8th. 18 tracks. It's a movie soundtrack. There's a lot of very short songs. It's mostly instrumental. The film was pretty forgettable. This whole album was really pretty forgettable for me. We talked about this before, and it's just this is an easy 7 for me. This is the bottom. I almost feel weird even reviewing this one because it's so not like them. Although there's a couple albums from now that is pretty similar. So
yeah,
they did that much better. So I just didn't really care for this one. It's just not my thing. I'm sure if movie soundtracks or / scores are your thing, I'm sure it's fantastic because Queen doesn't do anything half-assed, right? Like it's all, put it all in there. So, but I like Flash's theme. Like the first 45 seconds to a minute of this album is the best part of the whole thing. It's all downhill from there.
Yep.
So I got this as a C- and a number 7 out of the 7 second half albums that we're doing. Just not my thing. What did you think of Flash Shack?
Yeah. I agree with you.
I'll just have the bass line go underneath the whole time you're talking. It's almost like Jaws.
It is.
It's funny.
It is. But yeah, I'm with you, partner. Movie soundtracks are not my thing. Very, very few have ever caught my attention, especially something like this. If it's Like there's some good movie soundtracks, but it's just music.
The
you know?
Wall.
It's-
I mean, but that movie, like,
Yeah.
just, you have to be in a certain frame of mind for it to make sense. But that's a movie, and it's got a fantastic soundtrack,
yes,
and it's from the same year.
You're right.
think.
You're right. Yeah. So something like that. But then there's like a movie like I really liked the Crow soundtrack.
Yes.
It's just a bunch of metal bands.
Yes.
I really liked. There's another. I always liked the Demon Knight soundtrack. Was one of my favorites. Had some Pantera and Megadeth and stuff on it, and they had some new songs that weren't on any of their albums. So I always thought it was kind of cool. But yeah, this type of soundtrack definitely not my thing. Flash's theme is like a legend. Most people know it.
It's a Judgment Night back in the day too. Had some Slayer on there. And
Yeah,
some
yeah,
stuff.
there's some
like,
good
I
stuff,
remember
yeah.
that too. It was Ice-T, I think, that was in that
Mhm.
movie. Anyway.
Yeah, I feel like
you
there's
got
a lot
me
of-
on another track over here.
I know. Sorry about that. But yeah, this is not my thing. It's got a lot of quotes and like lines from the movie in here, and it's just.
You ever seen the movie?
I have, but I was young. I was a
Yeah,
kid,
me
so
too.
I don't remember
Yeah.
much. I remember like seeing more clips of it now that the whole reel / whatever, like YouTube videos or whatever, where you can watch little clips of things now. TikTok. I've seen like the football scene a few times, and it's just really cheesy stuff.
Yeah, I wonder how. Like, I almost feel like I should go back and try to watch it just while we're on the Queen subject one of
Yeah.
these days. But yeah, so you didn't care for it either.
No, not a big fan of this. I would even venture to say this is a D for me. I would never go back to this. Like it's
Yeah, me neither.
the music is solid. Again, the writers of every song, just like their regular albums, are a member of each of the band. So they're all writing these things. So kudos to them. They wanted to do it. I love Nine Inch Nails too, and Trent is doing a lot of movie scores and stuff
Yep.
now.
Yep.
I don't sit and listen to those either. I mean, it's no disrespect. They wanted to do it. I'm not going to listen to it though. So yeah, this is a D for me, and it's the same as you. Easy number 7. This is the one that I would never ever come back to. And other than the song Flash's theme, I definitely wouldn't ever listen to this again. So not a fan.
All right. Hot Space, May 4th, 1982. 11 songs.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Yeah. So this is Queen with Reinhold Mack again, and David Bowie this time.
Yep.
Very new wave, disco-ish. What I will give it is you can definitely hear later mid 80s new wave in this album. Like, this is pretty influential. I feel like this was early for that type of stuff, and for a rock band to be doing that and kind of influence a whole kind of wave of help influence a whole wave of bands, Human League, all these kind of pop rock, but like emo, kind of early emo bands almost, like the new wave stuff. But you can definitely hear some of that in there, and there's some disco in there, and I don't mind some disco. And I was first getting into music. I was about 8 when disco was huge, around Saturday Night Fever and all that. My mom had those albums. Like, I listened to a lot of that stuff, and some of it I liked. So, but this is not one of those things. So, didn't care for much of this. This is a dance album that was inspired a little bit, at least in part, by the massive success of Another One Bites the Dust. Just like Herd said, they just figured, hey, let's try to put a whole album together of this kind of funk dance that turned into more new wave. And songs from this are rarely played after this album's tour. It's all super synthesized and probably fit well in the time, I would say, and even influence some future stuff. But sounds pretty bad now, though. Like this, I guess this type of music would have to have a huge resurgence for this to be looked at as something that anybody wants to listen to. But Life is Real was a song written about the death of John Lennon. There is one kind of straight rock song here, Put Out the Fire. That's really the only straight rock song.
Who wrote that
one? I'm not even gonna look, but I'm gonna guess May.
You got it. Yeah.
But I like Dancer. Kind of has a cool vibe and some good guitar work, but I was really reaching to try to find some stuff in here. Under Pressure, I like. It's overplayed, and I really can't stand pompous ass David Bowie. I really can't. I mean, so I could go on a whole other tangent on him, but I really never like that guy. But that's a great song. And,
Mhm.
you know, Vanilla Ice famously ripped it off and said that this was a slightly different, but nobody could hear it somehow. It's like some kind of silent note in there that nobody could hear.
Right.
My skippers here are Staying Power, Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack. Anybody? That sounds just like it. They ripped it right off of Beverly Hills Cop. Back Chat, Body Language, Action This Day. Didn't like any of those. Most of it's not real great. It definitely seems a bit experimental, even for Queen. But this is kind of what I was talking about. I wish there was a hard rock album that had a hard rock theme throughout the whole thing, just like this is written as a dance album. You know, if they could go the other direction, I think I would love that. But
Yeah.
you know, that never happened, unfortunately. So I have this one as a C. This one number 6 out of 7. This was hard to get through some of this. It was almost laughable at times. What did you think of Hot Space?
Yeah, no. This is
No.
this is just no for me. I'm just not. It's not my thing. It's I mean, Queen fans don't like this. To me, it's. I mean, I guess they did something different, but just from the second that it starts, like I'm just out. Staying Power from the first note that it starts, I'm like, this is cheesy, and and the production is so bad. Like, I don't know what they were going for. Like, I understand the dance and the disco and all that. Like, I get it. Make that sound, but why did you have to make the production of the album so bad? Like to me, most of these songs just didn't have a chance from the get-go. I'm sure that was on purpose. I'm sure they're sitting and listening to the album and they're like, we're going to make it. If we're going to go disco, we're going to go all out and make it
Yeah, they
sound
don't
old.
do anything half-assed, man.
Yeah, they went all in on it, but it just doesn't sound good. I feel like even when there may be a decent song in here, it just sounds so bad that it's hard to even kind of find the song in there for me. So yeah, I couldn't really get into it. I couldn't wait for this to be over. It's just the cheese on over cheese level, and just
cranked up to 11 cheese.
Yep, it's like when
11 million cheese.
Yeah, it's just way too much cheese. It's like, can I have some chips and some meat
Crackers
on my nachos and not cheese? So yeah, I'm with you. So Staying Power, not good. Back Chat, not good. Man, Body Language. Oh my gosh, like it's just weird, man. It's like the chanting he does in the middle of, like, don't talk. It's like wow, this just, I felt uncomfortable listening to it.
Yeah, right. That's very
like,
uncomfortable is a good word for it, to try to listen to that. Like,
Yeah.
it want to maybe kind of want to laugh, but at the same time, like, this is just so out there. This is so weird.
yeah, I just can't. So yeah, this was. I mean, right now we're 3 for 3, partner. So
Yes,
this
sir.
is number 6 for me, and the only reason it's number 6 is just because the Flash Gordon soundtrack just doesn't have songs. So this is
Right.
real songs. I mean,
Same.
quote unquote real songs. So
Right.
that gave it the boost. It's a C minus.
The boost.
Yeah, it gives it the little boost that it needed to get over that lip.
Lady fingers lit underneath them. Okay, got a little boost there.
Under Pressure does save it. It's a classic song. It's, I'm tired of
It
it
is.
too, but you can't
Yeah.
argue with how amazing of a classic song it is. It
Agreed.
doesn't fit either. It's like, obviously they just added it to the end
Yeah.
where
Or Cool Cat does fit, which that
Yeah.
one was another David Bowie song that he was on and I think co-wrote, but that one does fit. I don't really, it wasn't a skipper, but it wasn't my favorite either. It just wasn't
it was
whatever.
okay.
But yeah, then it goes right into Under Pressure after that, which really, that one and the rock song don't really fit on this album. And you're like, whoa, what is this? This isn't what I was just listening to.
It
Just
kind
kinda
of
wakes you up.
blindsides you.
Yeah.
Like, for the longest time, I didn't even know that Under Pressure was on this album. I thought it was just, I don't know, just like a one-off.
I thought it
song
was
that-
too. I thought it was just
Yeah.
a single. I didn't actually know that it was on a Queen album. I wonder if
Yep.
it's on a David Bowie album. I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm not
But
sure.
I thought it was just, like you said, like just a single collaboration
Mhm.
song.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, for me, number 6 in a C minus, Hot Space.
Hot Space. I don't even really like the title. It's like like a sequel to Spaceballs or something.
I
Spaceballs
don't
2
know.
Hot Space.
I don't know what the
So-
hell it is.
The Works, February 27th, 1984, 9 songs. Reinhold Mack and Queen again. Return of May and Taylor's kind of rock sound, so they say. But the first song, Radio Gaga, you're going to listen to, you're like, wait, what? Where's that at?
Yeah, right.
What did you say? So that's a little weird. But the band decided not to tour North America after a negative reaction to the I Want to Break Free video, where all 4 Queen members were cross-dressed as women, where I feel like that would be, like these days, nobody would bat an eye at it, right? But back in 1984, that was like, whoa, so actually it suffered in sales too. But Radio Gaga was written, the song I just mentioned, by Roger Taylor after hearing his 3-year-old son say Radio Caca. So I was wondering what the conversation was like around that, where his 3-year-old was like, Radio Caca! So I thought that was kind of funny. I never knew that. Is This the World We Created was written in response to a news broadcast about poverty in Africa. This was around the Live Aid. Live Aid took place after this album, which is a famous performance by Queen, like a last minute. And it's documented in the movie Bohemian Rhapsody that we talked about last week, which is a fantastic movie. But they wrote this song based on that same poverty. There was commercials all the time, like you see now with the Sarah McLachlan with the dogs. It's like you saw them way more often back then. They were everywhere, like all the time. So give money, it was everywhere. But I liked Tear It Up, Hammer to Fall, and I Go Crazy, which was a bonus track that I just kind of kept listening on Spotify, and I'm like, hey, is this actually on this album? And I looked it up, and like, it isn't, but I listened to the whole thing anyway because I kind of liked it. So
Yeah.
the best song that's not on this album is called I Go Crazy. Skippers, Machines, and Keep Passing the Open Window. I didn't really care for either of those. Although, this is a pretty mostly solid album aside from those 2 skippers for me. So this kind of rose up to the 3 level. This is a B for me. This one really surprised me, to be honest with you. This was kind of a lost album because it doesn't really have the hits on it, the giant hits, so it's better than I thought it was going to be. It really is.
Yeah.
So, and it's one that I hadn't heard very much. So I really had to consider where I wanted to put this while I was ranking, because I did like this one quite a bit more than I thought I would. So what did you think of The Works?
Yeah, 4 for 4 now, partner. This is impressive. We're going to nail this whole thing. I don't know. It's
Maybe.
The plot thickens, but yeah, this is good stuff. Again, I'm with you. I mean, it was more rock, especially with the game, and then the soundtrack, and then Hot Space. To go back to this, like they almost
maybe it was the
probably were
lowered
like-
bar from
Probably.
Hot Space, that maybe it just was like, wow, thank God, but I
Well, I'm
actually
sure
thought
they
it was,
heard it.
really, I thought it was better than that. So
Yeah, I'm sure they heard it in the press and
oh yeah,
like can we just go back to being a rock band? At least before, like when you were doing the weird off the wall stuff, at least there was still rock songs in between it, and like Night at the Opera, like they still do their weird stuff, but they didn't go all in on it and do a full 1700 sounding album. They just did a few songs. So yeah, this is much better. Like you said, really rock heavy. That first side of it, I think, is really solid. I do like Radio Gaga, Tear It Up.
Yeah, I don't
It's a
have it
hard
as a
life.
skipper. It's a goofy song, but it's really catchy.
Yeah, it
Radio
is.
Gaga, and I can't get it out of my head. So just for that reason, I'm like, I don't hate it, because
And it's like you said, the movie and the Live Aid performance, just watching him,
and
run
the people
around
clapping in Wembley,
Yes.
that's it's iconic, like
It
I'll
is.
never ever forget that.
Yep. Also in that performance was Hammer to Fall. That song is phenomenal.
Yes.
Another Brian May song.
Who wrote that one?
Yeah.
You beat me to it.
Yeah, Hammer to Fall is phenomenal.
Yeah,
And
very good.
for all the mess that I Want to Break Free got, I like the song. The song is pretty catchy. Video, like you said, you explained, it just kind of was not in its time. Like they weren't ready for it yet. But yeah, it's a really solid album, for sure. Same as you, number 3. I had it as a C+. And like I said, it's really good stuff. It's more in line with the game. It almost feels like the game part 2. It's like,
Yeah.
you might have been able to erase all the stuff there in between and go right to this, and it would have been fine. So, yeah, I really like this one too. Kind of the same sentiment as you, where I wasn't expecting it. It kind of snuck up, and I'm a little more familiar with a few of these later ones coming up. Actually, I don't know why I never really got around to listen to the works that much, other than just seeing those from those performances. But yeah, it really surprised me. So good stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those, like, where's that one song I remember hearing all the time that I really like, and it's just not on this album,
Right.
Like,
Yep.
all the Queen songs you're going to hear on the radio even today not any of them are going to be on this album. So
Sure.
it just kind of it gets lost, which is kind of sad because it's overall really solid. So, and incidentally, in between these two albums, between Hot Space and The Works, was the last time they came to Cleveland that I could find. I was looking up set lists just to see what they played. My God, they played 30 one time. They came 28 and 28 and then 26. Like, they came here 8 times and 4 times was over 25 songs. I'm like, oh my God. And they played everything, but they, even in like the Hot Space, I think they played 3 songs off of that, because I was wondering as I listened to that, I was like, I wonder how many songs they really played off of this. I think it was 3 out of, I think, 28. So it wasn't very many, but they got a lot of songs to play. So
Sure, yeah.
But man, can you imagine? Oh, I can't imagine. I wonder who opened for that. But anyway, that was the last time I could find that they were in Cleveland. On to 1986, A Kind of Magic. 9 songs on this one. Queen and Reinhold Mack and Dave Richards. It was added to the production crew for this one. Dave Richards, I believe it's him going forward from here. I don't know. I didn't really look up what happened to Reinhold Mack, if he just was retiring or just was moving on to other things. But he did a great job with them, other than, like you said, the production on whatever Hot Shade, right? But other than that, all the rock stuff they've done, and the more pop stuff sounds, really good. It's just the weird 80s stuff sounded really weird, but otherwise he did a great job. This the last album promoted with a tour due to Freddie's AIDS diagnosis the following year too. So they toured for this one. That's why I was wondering when last they came here. I'm like, did they come here for this album? And it was actually 2 albums prior.
Okay.
It was the last time they were here, but this is what made me look it up. I'm like, I wonder if they came here for this. I still wouldn't have been able to see it probably, but it didn't come here. It's based on it's kind of soundtrack for the Highlander film. Really, there's Princes of the Universe is the theme song to Highlander, and there's only 3 songs on this album out of 9 that didn't appear in the movie. Pain is So Close to Pleasure, Friends Will Be Friends, and One Vision are those 3 songs. The One Vision song was also in an Iron Eagle movie. So if you remember Iron Eagle, I do.
Yep.
So I remembered that song
movie.
too, and I listened to it. Yeah, really good movie. Yeah, the sequels are kind of getting really weird, but the first one was good. And it had a good soundtrack, and I remember that song when I listened to it. I'm like, okay, I remember this. So it kind of put a smile on my face. This was an immediate hit in the UK. This was released on the heels of the critically acclaimed Live Aid performance. Everybody was kind of hot for Queen at the time, so they were a real big deal. After that, even though, like we said, the album before didn't really have any huge hits on it, but they did the Live Aid thing and it just really blew them up. And that's kind of a lot of what the movie is about too. And it's kind of how close they kind of almost came to breaking up in there too, before the Live Aid thing, after the 84 album. So this was, they were huge at this time for sure. They put out the Live Magic album from the following tour from this tour also, which, like you said, you really like that first. Was it Killers? Was that the first one?
Yep.
And then this one, which was basically Freddie's last tour. This is the last tour the band did with Freddie, and they put out a live album for this one. I mean, they just know when to do it,
Yep.
So
right.
I mean, that's good stuff. My favorites are One Vision, Give Me the Prize, Princes of the Universe. I liked all of those. There's some skippers though. That's the problem with this one, is there's some songs on here I really don't like. So I do like some of it quite a bit, and there's like 4 that I really don't like. So it's kind of hit or miss. I didn't like A Kind of Magic. I didn't like Pain Is So Close to Pleasure. I didn't like Who Wants to Live Forever. So I just, I had as many skippers as I had ones that I liked. So this is a B minus. This is number 5. There's some good stuff here, but equal amounts of stuff I really didn't like. So, what did you think of Kind of Magic?
Well, we're still aligned. I have this
All right.
number 5 as well. So, man,
This is crazy. It's almost like we planned this. How come we didn't wear the same outfit? We should have
I
worn
don't
the
know.
same outfit.
We
today.
should have. Yeah, we
That'd
should
been
have.
hilarious.
But yeah, I'm exactly what you said. This is completely hit or miss for me.
Yeah, yep.
I have a little different hits and misses than you.
Okay.
But One Vision's phenomenal. A Kind of Magic is cheesy, but it doesn't bother me. I wouldn't skip it. 1 Year of Love is not for me. It's very overly cheesy, romantic type. But where I differ is I think Who Wants to Live Forever, I think, is phenomenal. I just maybe because I heard the live version first on their Live from Wembley album. I can't remember what year that one came out, where that one fits in. I'll have to check that one later. But there's this big grandiose performance of Who Wants to Live Forever. And I got a kick out of, I saw Breaking Benjamin recently and they covered it. And I thought it was really, really good. So anyway, I really, really like the song. It's a song that, that Brian May sings vocals on, and then Freddie Mercury comes in later. And I think Brian May has a really good singing voice that he kind of doesn't get to use it all that much. So I like moments when he gets to kind of sing a little bit. And it kind of works too with the music. So like May comes in at the beginning and then Freddie comes in and you could just tell the difference. I mean, obviously Freddie is Freddie and one of the best vocalists of all time and best frontmen of all time. So you could hear the difference. Like, it's almost for me, like I really like Alter Bridge. And I know that Mark Tremonti likes to sing in a lot of their stuff, but when Miles sings, it's like, obviously there's no comparison, but I kind of felt like that's the way it is with this. It's like Brian May can sing, but Freddie Mercury, when he comes in, it's just even more of a distinct, difference, so
I can imagine them doing a lot of recordings where, Brian May would maybe sing a part of a song and they'd be like, okay, Freddie, you try it. And Freddie would do it. And they'd be like, okay, that's just Freddie. Just go ahead and continue. Go ahead and continue,
Yeah, Freddie's
like all of them, even Brian May, like, yeah, you think you got this one, Freddie, you go ahead. Yep. Unless it really meant a lot to Brian May or Roger Taylor, that they sing it, but which I'm sure they were all fine with. But I could see a lot of that happen in the studio where, give it a shot. Okay, that was pretty good. Freddie, you give it a shot. Oh, okay, you just take it from here. That's
well, you notice as the albums go on, there's less and less singing of anything other than Freddie Mercury. So
their
first
there
5
reasons for that at the end, though. But
agreed, right? But as these albums go on, like right now, I mean, I know he's sick now and he's starting to go through it, but he's still singing pretty much everything here. Other than I think there's a guest vocalist on "Don't Lose Your Head" as well. But yeah, the second half of this,
I don't see that one.
Her name's Joan Armatrading or
okay.
I don't know.
I totally missed that.
I don't know who she is, but she's in on it. So
interesting.
Second half of this album,
English singer, songwriter, guitarist.
Yep. So
I don't think she was in any band that we would have ever heard of.
Nope. Just must have been either friends or just the musicians had a respect for her from beat living in
right. Maybe from the neighborhood or whatever.
Yep. So, but yeah, the second half of this album really brings it down for me. After Who Wants to Live Forever, it's not really my thing. So I have it at number 5 as well, just like you. I have it in the C range. When it's strong, it's really strong. But like you said, there's like 4 songs I really like, and then the rest are like, okay, or no, thank you. So yeah, number 5 for me. Just these kind of roll together, a few of these. So I could maybe do them differently at a different point, but that's
right. Now, so you have that at 5 also. Okay.
Yep.
So on to The Miracle. May 22nd, 1989. 10 songs here. Queen and Dave Richards again. This album was originally supposed to be called The Invisible Men, But I guess they changed it 3 weeks before it was released. I can never really find out why, but I didn't spend a whole lot of time digging into it. I just thought it was interesting. I always find that interesting when an album has one name, like Led Zeppelin with Thanksgiving, or whatever. It has one name for like all this time they work on it, and then they changed it last minute. We would never know that, right? Because
Yeah,
we've
right.
only known it as when it came out, what it was released as. But I always find that interesting. This was the second to last album with Freddie. This was recorded after Brian May's marital problems and Freddie's diagnosis. He made it known to the band, but didn't just vehemently did not want it to be public. This album took an entire year to record because of a lot of things that were going on. I Want It All is one of my all-time favorite Queen songs. I love that song. I loved it the first time I heard it, and I'm like, oh, why can't Queen write a bunch more of these? Oh, I just love that song. My favorites are Khashoggi's Ship. That's got some cool guitar in it. I Want It All, fantastic. Scandal, I like more than I thought I would. My Baby Does Me. The lyrics are weird, I know, but I could totally hear some Dr. Dre type samples in there. Like this was like, I'm like, if nobody's sampled this album for a rap album, this has got Sample Me written all over it. It's so good, and even it has some of that same kind of like really light guitar work in it, that you hear in some of Dr. Dre stuff, and I'm like, wow, this is good. So I just kind of like the groove to it, but yeah, no, it's cheesy. My Baby Does Me. Come on. Skippers Are the Invisible Man, dude. I fight every time every time he sings 3 lines, I want to yell out Ghostbusters. Listen to this song and tell me after the 3rd line through, you don't want to go Ghostbusters. Like, I can't help it. It sounds just like it. It's lyrically similar. The cadence is kind of the same, and I just want to yell Ghostbusters every time. Like, it cracks me up. So, I mean, it's a skipper for me because it's a goofy song. But, man, that makes me laugh just because I'm like, and then at the end, I'm like, yep, Ghostbusters. Oh, man.
Nice.
Breakthrough I didn't like, and Rain Must Fall. I didn't like those either. I have this as a B-. This is a 4 for me. I love one song, and I like a few others, but the middle 3 songs ruin it for me. So it's Invisible Man, Breakthrough, and Rain Must Fall are the 3 middle songs, and I can't do it. Like that, I would just like skip, and then the rest of it is just fine for me. So, and of course, those are right after I Want It All, which is one of my favorite Queen songs. So, just love the guitar riff in that one. So, anyway, B- number 4. What did you think of The Miracle? Is it a miracle for you?
Yeah, it's okay, but yeah, it looks like we're gonna have 7 for 7.
Really? I guess so, because the
wild.
last one's the last album. That is wild. That is
so
crazy.
this one's number 4 for me as well. It's a solid listen. Nothing great, nothing terrible for me.
Did you want to yell Ghostbusters?
I didn't think of that, but now that you've said it, I'll never not think of it. So,
oh my goodness!
But yeah, it's.
I think at some point they're even like the Invisible Man, and I'm like sleeping in your bed. Man!
So it's funny. So I Want It All, you mentioned as your favorite, one of your favorite Queen songs.
Song.
So my first real just introducing myself to it, I mentioned in the last podcast, I used to have a neighbor that came from England that kind of brought all his albums, and
we talked about him last week.
Yep.
And all the crazy great stuff he probably brought with him. Yeah.
Yes. Amazing stuff that I would have never, ever listened to. But he coached the varsity football team, or not football. For him, it'd be football, soccer for Fairview Park. So he was the varsity coach, and the song that he used for his team to come out to the field and warm up was I Want It All.
Yeah.
So I used to go, because again, I was really good friends with his son. We played together as kids, and I would go to the soccer games because I was really into sports and getting into it at the time. So I thought that was the coolest thing. I'm like, oh, they're coming out to I Want It All by Queen, and like to me, it was like that's like the perfect song for the team to come out to. It wasn't current at the time, but
right.
But it was
that one
cool.
stood the test of time. Like I haven't listened to it in a long time, and I had forgotten how much I love it. And I listened to it again. I'm like, man, this song still holds up, and I love this song. So good.
I mean, we talk Brian May songs. I mean, Man, he's got that big wailing guitar in it.
And it just starts with this ridiculous
Yep.
riff, so good.
Yeah, very cool song. I'm kind of with you. The middle of the album is where it kind of gets a little weak for me. The Miracle, the title track it's a little weird for me. I don't think I would skip it, but I don't really love it. But I do love the first few songs and then the last 4 songs. So I'm kind of with you there. Just a little weaker in the middle, but see the stuff that I don't I like Invisible Man, the one you're saying. Breakthrough I don't mind as much. I wouldn't skip it. So I think just it has less skippers to me than
Okay.
Kind of Magic, which is kind of what put it a little bit ahead for me. So just less that I don't like and more that I'm like, okay, this is okay. Just a solid listen all the way through. I don't really have a lot of strong feelings either way about this record, but overall it's pretty decent, especially when you figure in all the stuff they're going through. Basically that Freddie is really getting in bad shape now at this point. Like you said, they're not touring anymore. They're done with that.
Yeah.
They're pretty much owning the fact that, they're on borrowed time with Freddie at this point. So it's sad. It's kind of depressing, but they did make good music while he was, basically dying. So
yes,
I give him a lot of credit for that. Freddie still is in on a lot of these songs. He's now I know that a lot of these songs are more with each other, and it has to do with this horrible album cover that shows all 4 of their faces kind of like melted together. And I guess that's the symbolism of basically all these songs, but 3 of them were by 2 or more of the members. So it was kind of more of a collective process than normal. Because normally each one of the band members would come to the recording with a song that they wrote, and then everybody else would just play it. But in this case, it was basically every song had a couple people on it, other than I Want It All, Scandal, and The Invisible Man. Other than that, everything else was a joint thing. So, but yeah, decent stuff. Again, I had it as a 4, just like you, and I had it as a C. So the Miracle wasn't quite a miracle for me, but it wasn't as bad as some of the.
Yeah, sure,
so, good stuff.
Sure, and the other thing that album cover does is it hides a little bit of the fact of how thin
True.
Freddie was getting in the way he looked, because you don't see either side of his face. He's one of the middle 2 guys, and you just see a little bit of his face, So
yeah,
but that's neither here nor there. It's a weird album cover though. It's like whoa. It's like a 4-headed person, right? Like it's got one neck, one set of shoulders, and like 4 faces. It's kind of off-putting, but yeah, I thought that was an interesting one too. The last album that they were to do with Freddie, not just parts of Freddie, which we didn't do. We're not going to do that album, Made in Heaven, at the end. It's Freddie parts. It's kind of cobbled together. It's Coda-ish, like we talked on the Led Zeppelin podcast, that we weren't going to do that one either, because it was after the band was really, they weren't doing anything. They weren't touring. They were just, putting together an album for like as fast as they could while Freddie was still alive. So this is his last album. This is Queen and Dave Richards again. This is February 4th, 1991. This came out. He died about 8 months later. November 24th, 1991, if I'm not mistaken, or 28th. Anyway, this has 12 songs on it. This is kind of a bit of a return to the 70s kind of period for them with the big production. Freddie, I feel like they did a lot of production instrumentally because Freddie he wasn't available a lot. Like they basically, recording was really difficult. He would let the band know basically when he had enough energy to work, but he really wanted to complete this album, telling the band that, he would sing anything that they wrote for him. Like he didn't have the energy to write, but when he could come in and sing, when he felt up to it, he can be like, I give you 3 hours. And then he'd come in and they would they were all just like on call, with beepers or whatever they had. And they would all go to the studio when he was available and would work on stuff. And they credited all of the work for this whole album to Queen as a band without individual writing credits, which apparently helped them to to record it. I'm not really sure how that's really possible, but that's what I read. So I was like, well, that's interesting. But I did like that they did credit this whole last album to all of them. An Elton John favorite song, "The Show Must Go On," chronicles the whole effort of Freddie to perform despite kind of approaching the end of his life. You know, it's a fitting last track, as you know,
Oh,
Freddie would
yeah.
surely want the show to go on. You know what I mean? Like it's just crazy that they wrote that song, and it's an iconic song by them, and it's a song everybody knows by them, and it's the last song in his last album. It's almost moving. You know, it's something. You know, it's really good. Freddie did not want to sell music out of people's sympathy for him. So he did not want news of him being sick to get out in his diagnosis, but it was hard to ignore his declining appearance. So, they was getting photographed a lot. And I was 19 at the time. So, I mean, I remember a lot of this. I was a young adult, so I obviously knew what was going on. And I bought this album on cassette. It's sitting actually right over there in my little cassette box. So I did like a couple songs on here a lot at first when I first heard them, and I'm like, I got to buy this, and it's all good.
Yeah.
So this is my favorites here are Headlong, The Hitman. Oh, I wish they had a few more songs like The Hitman. That's the hard rock kind of
I'm
song
a
I was
hitman.
talking about, man. Oh, so good. And The Show Must Go On. Skippers, there's 12 songs on here. There's one. I really didn't like All God's People. It kind of, I don't know if it's like a remake. It kind of sounds like it's a remake, but I don't think it is. I thought it was, says it's written by Queen, but it sounds like it's kind of like a rehash of some kind of gospel that you'd hear in church or something. It's just not, I don't know. It's just weird for me. I just didn't care for that one. But this is a B plus. This is number 2 for me. This is my second favorite of the second half here, which I kind of thought going into it that I remembered liking this album, but I'm telling you, I have not listened to this album in 10 years. So, except I've heard The Show Must Go On here and there, but I haven't listened to any of the rest of this album in a while. But it sounds more modern and even timeless in some cases, like kind of their earlier stuff where it just, you can tell it's Queen, but it doesn't sound like so outdated. It doesn't sound like those 80s, the 80s one where it was just all synthesized. You're like, yep, this is definitely right from the 80s. This one, you can't really tell as much, it's from the time. It's kind of timeless. But I really like this one. This is solid. This is a B plus number 2. What did you think of Innuendo?
Yeah, this one has a special place with me. So the first Queen album that I ever personally had was Classic Queen, which was a greatest hits, but it was after this. So it included songs off of this. And there was quite a few off of this album that ended up on there. So I played the heck out of Classic Queen. And then I remember, like, it's weird. So I don't really have a relationship with my biological mother, but for some reason, she took me to a tape store and I bought this. So same as you, I had it on
Innuendo. That's awesome. I can pull it out right now. I just saw it maybe a couple weeks ago. I was just going through the box. I'm like, hey, there's Innuendo.
So I just was so attached to this from the beginning. It's one of those. I almost put it at 1. But I kind of had to stop myself and just, kind of call myself out with, like, is this really number 1 or is this just, nostalgia? And it's probably both. But
dude, it's close.
It's
close for me too. It really is. Like, I considered it also. Man, we are so all over this second half of Queen. Man, it's great. Yeah.
But so the title track, I remember the first time I heard it, I was blown away.
Yeah.
It's such a good song.
So much stuff in there,
It's such a good song. So, it's just like this big epic beginning, and then it breaks into this acoustic guitar.
Almost like Mexican style, like, real fast picking guitar, right?
Yep. And the acoustic part is actually played by the guitarist from Yes. What's his name? My mind escapes me.
How?
No, he's the bass player. It's the guitar player. Anyway, so the
John Novak would be screaming at us right now if he was here, but he's not. Yeah.
So anyway, so the there's like in the middle of it, it's almost like a Mexican like acoustic guitar, and I can't remember his name, but and then I remember when it kicks back in, it's got just this epic guitar solo by Brian May. It's one of my favorite moments of songs. I just love it. I love the title track. I think it's so underrated when it comes to the big total catalog of Queen. I like so many of these songs. I'm Going Slightly Mad is good. Headlong is phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm going headlong.
Yeah, love that song.
Yeah.
I Can't Live With You is solid. The kind of the stuff in the middle there is a little forgettable for me. Don't Try So Hard. Ride the Wild Wind isn't really one of my favorites. And Delilah, I don't really care about. I know Freddie wrote it about one of his cats, what his favorite cat that he had. But man, it picks. These Are the Days of Our Lives is good. Hitman, like you said, is so good. And let me tell you, The Show Must Go On. If I throw on my headphones and I just like lay back and listen to that song, man, I get goosebumps. It's emotional. Like, man, it's one of the most powerful songs.
It really is.
If you just really think about the whole, everything.
Yeah.
It's deep. It's a phenomenal song.
Yep.
It's probably top 5 when it comes to like my favorite Queen songs of all time. It's just in like Freddie like belts out the end where he's like almost screaming and it sounds so good. So I
bet there were a lot of tears shed over that one when they laid that one down and listened to it back, like all over the place. You know, producers, sound engineers, roadies, everybody. I mean, it's such a moving, crazy tribute to a guy who's still alive. Like that's the amazing thing about it. It wasn't written after he was dead. He helped write it. He did. It's amazing. Yep. So good. What a great story.
But just didn't imagine the tears after he passes away.
Right.
Going back, you just recorded that song not that long ago.
A year ago, right?
Yeah.
Like within a year.
Yep. So yeah, I love this album. I was afraid it would be a little nostalgia bait for me, but man, it's so solid. There's so many good songs on here.
There is.
It's a close second for me.
Same.
For sure. And it's a B-. It's a really, really good album. It lives up to their older stuff. Not a lot of stuff does. I think they're later on. It's 2 different eras for me for sure. But yeah, this one stands the test of time for me. I still will come back to this, and I probably will again in the future for sure. This is good.
Yep.
And we, like you said, we mentioned Made in Heaven. We didn't rank it. I actually had ranked it, but like I was telling you earlier.
Well, what did you think of it? Just
I didn't like it, to be honest.
Okay.
But I told you I felt bad ripping it because
right.
I get it.
Well, what didn't you like about it? I guess let's just go with that.
Yeah. So honestly, it was just the opposite of a rock album. It was very ballady, very like sappy and emotional. Like to me, there was no pick me up moments in it. I just felt depressed listening to it. I felt really sad. And, I'm typically not the type of person that listens to music just to make me sad. Like that's not the main not, I mean, I know people listen to music like that and that's fine. Like, you go listen to music for different reasons and, you have different things you try to find from music. With me, like life can be sad enough, turn on the news, whatever. I'm not going to lecture people, but there's a lot of sad stuff happening in the world. Like I don't want to turn on music. And
that's why I don't turn on the news because it's all bad news.
It is.
Bad news sells, not good news. So
I know. Yeah,
you hear a good story for every 10 or 12 bad ones. I just don't even bother.
So Made in Heaven, I think the title track was really, really good of that song. And there's a few other good songs, but overall, I wouldn't have recommended it. I probably wouldn't have ranked it very high. Just not my style of music. Almost like the soundtrack thing. It's just.
Would it have been last, or would you have had it above Flash Gordon?
I actually probably would have had it in front of Hot Space. To be honest with you,
okay.
It's
like 5 then.
Or, probably 6.
Yeah.
So I probably would have had it about 6, but not because it was bad. It's just not my style. It's
I totally get that.
Just wouldn't hit with me. I'm not the audience for that record. It was more, people that wanted to, I guess, kind of have one last goodbye with Freddie,
Yeah.
And I respect that. Just for me,
right? I respect them getting out what they felt like they could. That was finished enough, with what they could. But to be honest, we talked about earlier when we talked about whether we're going to do it or not. That I don't I'm not really that familiar with it. Like, none of my buddies, nobody I know ever told me, hey, this was 1995, right? Like, I'm in my early and mid 20s, and nobody told me, hey, you got to go check this new Queen album out. And they just put this
Right.
thing out with, like, there's no hits on it. I think they released one song, but I don't think I ever remembered hearing that. I'm sure I've heard these songs in passing over time, but
Right.
I couldn't name any of them. And I was like, kind of like Coda. It's kind of some cutting room floor stuff that's just kind of pasted together. And yeah, they went in and recorded some stuff and put more vocals in it and stuff where Freddie kind of left off. But would that stuff have been different with Freddie, or maybe? And there's no. It's like all these kind of, like you said, it sounds like it's like a lot of ballads that just maybe didn't work for other albums, and they just had these parts of songs like from who knows when. So of course it's not going to have a feel to it, right? Because it's probably chunks of songs from 7 years, 8 years, 15 years, who knows,
Right. Yep.
So it's not really going to sound like an album. And I just was like, I knew I wasn't probably going to like it very much, and I was like, I just kind of want to leave it out. So totally with you on that one.
Yep.
I just wondered, kind of where you would have had it compared to the other ones, just because I didn't listen to it. Like, where we were so right on with everything else, I'm like, I wonder if I'd have had it in the same spot now. I think about it. But,
Yeah, I just think there was a clear with the second half. I think it was pretty clear, and I think that's a lot probably why we were on the same path with it. To me, it seemed pretty clear, like the tiers of it. They went for different things, and some of them, most of them didn't hit. And when they went more with what their strengths were, it hit better. And I think that's just ultimately what it came down to, personally.
Sure.
So what do you have for 1 to 7? Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say we either one of us. It doesn't take two of us to do this. We had the same exact rankings. So.
Oh, that's yeah. Go ahead and give both.
All right,
of our
let's
1
give
to
the
7.
two Bobs ranking for the second half of Queen. Number 1, The Game. Number 2, Innuendo. Number 3, The Works. Number 4, The Miracle. Number 5, Kind of Magic. Number 6, Hot Space. Number 7, Flash. And that's the end of it. Down. Anyway,
All right.
So yeah, same
will
exact ranking.
Yep. And now I will go ahead and give the 1 to 14
Okay.
for me. And then you can give the 1 to 14 to you. And then
let's do it.
Put a
big Christmas bow on this thing.
Put a star on the top of the Queen tree.
There you go.
Number 1, I had A Night at the Opera. Number 2, Sheer Heart Attack. Number 3, I had Queen 1. Number 4, I had Queen 2. Number 5, I had News of the World. Number 6, A Day at the Races. Number 7, I had The Game, which is the first one that kind of snuck in there from the first half. Number 8, I had Jazz. Number 9, I had Innuendo. Number 10, I had The Works. Number 11, I had Miracle. Number 12, I had It's a Kind of Magic. 13, Hot Space. And 14, Flash. What did you have 1 to 14?
All right. Now, kind of like you did, like I went through my letter rankings and I ranked them based on that, but just about, I think, every time that I had them tied with other ones, the first half albums won out over those. So like I had News of the World and The Game both as an A-, but for me, number 1 is News of the World. Okay. Number 2 was The Game. So it kind of worked out. Like I feel like the first half is better than the second half overall. But like, I just kind of went through, and as they were tied, the tiebreaker was generally, I'm like, I go back and look at the songs I really liked, and generally the ones from the first half are just better outside of like I Want It All. But
remember with mine too, just I guess I didn't caveat mine is all the whole first half of the catalog, I had the lowest score was a B-. So
right. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so
and then you had like even Innuendo, which you really liked, and was a 2. It was still a B- this time, right? So
exactly.
So yeah, I got you. So then I had News of the World, number 1, number 2, The Game, number 3, Sheer Heart Attack, number 4, Innuendo, Number 5, Queen, the original debut. Number 6, The Works. Number 7, Night at the Opera. Number 8, Jazz. I actually switched those two if you really go back and look at the last week's episode.
That's okay.
I had Jazz over Night at the Opera, but you talked me into ranking Night at the Opera ahead. So I have Night at the Opera number 7 and Jazz number 8.
Okay.
And then The Miracle number 9. Number 10, Kind of Magic. Number 11, Day at the Races. We really differed big on that one. I didn't really care for that one at all. And in Queen 2, you had that 5, I have that 12.
Okay.
So big difference there.
Yeah.
But we differed on them the first half too. So number 13, Hot Space, and number 14, Flash. And that is our Queen Mountain.
All right, Mr. H, do you want to give our big announcement?
Our big announcement. I'm gonna let you do it.
Okay.
I can't do it. It's gonna make
all right. It's a tough. It is a tough announcement. Not one of our favorites, but no, it's actually good. So
yeah, it's nothing major.
It's nothing major. We're still doing it. I know all our listeners.
For those 4 people that are listening, but, we're still doing it.
So little backstory. So we're gonna do Rush next, and we're gonna have our partner Brian Hendrickson.
19 albums.
Yep, our buddy Brian
and
from
Rush aficionado.
Yes, our Brian is way more of a Rush fan than both of us, so we thought we better make sure to get him on here. He's going to give you probably way better tidbits of information than we could. But Brian from Talking Into Infinity, our buddy that's been on for Killswitch, we wanted to make sure to get him on here. So obviously trying to coordinate 3 people through the holidays is going to be pretty difficult. I think we're all traveling a little bit. We're all going to see family and things like that. So so the Two Bobs cast is going to take a little bit of a break, and it's the first time we've done since we started in May, right? I think it was the end of May.
So. 28 straight weeks, whatever that comes back to.
Yep. So we've done 28 straight episodes. We've been consistent because we really love doing this. You know, we really love coming in here. We love talking about music. It's kind of what both of us kind of live and die for is what music we're listening to, and we were dying to talk about it. So we're glad to have that outlet to talk about this stuff. So, but we're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to spend some time with family. And we coordinated with Brian to get him on at the start of next year. So first week of January, we'll be back. We'll be probably about 3 weeks by the time we hop back on. So
January 7th, I believe, is the day.
Yep. That sounds right.
Yeah.
That sounds right. So yeah, about January
Tuesday.
7th. Yeah, whatever Tuesday that is, 7th, 8th, whatever it is.
Look for an announcement. We'll put it on all the usual spots.
So yeah, we're gonna recharge our batteries and we're gonna come back strong. My partner is creating a list and we're working through.
I created a list till May 1st, I think, of 2026.
Yeah.
so
we got bands lined up.
Oh yeah, they're lined up for a long ways out. So there are. I do want to kind of say too, for the people that are listening, give it some thought. If there's somebody you want us to do, the letter X is going to be tough. We might do a special. Maybe not this time, because I did find one band that has 6 albums that we should go over. They're a thrash band from the 80s. They're pretty good. But that's not going to be a very long episode, and we'll probably maybe just talk about some concert shows or some history stuff that maybe we saw in the past, or talk about Ozfest or something. We'll add some content in there, but man, for the next time around, hey, maybe throw out a band that we haven't done that you want to hear, and then maybe we'll go through the paces and we'll do it. So there's some opportunities there. Then we're going to get thin on some letters eventually, so there'll be more opportunities to do that later. So
yeah, definitely send those over. Even like topics, like we talked. We want to do maybe like festivals, like you said, Ozfest.
Yeah,
me and you kind of are in contention with festivals,
the whole festival scene in general. So
I feel like that might be a fun podcast.
Be a good debate. We could talk about that.
But yeah, absolutely. And if we want to try to reach out to maybe some more guests too. So if you have any suggestions of anybody.
Metalhead Marv in Canada. Like, shout out to him. I think it's This Day in Metal. I think is his podcast. I'll have to look it out. Maybe I'll send it out on the social medias. But we might try to do something with him. He seems like kind of the same type of guy as us.
Okay.
He's around the same age, and he has a lot of the same similar tastes. So he had probably some good opinions on some of these bands too. So maybe we'll reach out to him. But yeah, we're hoping to grow this thing up. So.
Absolutely. So yeah, if you're listening, definitely check us out on the socials. Definitely leave a comment, leave a like, whatever you can to help us out. We just want to know that maybe people are enjoying our content, and that if you're just listening, just hit the like button, just so we know that we're doing a good job. So that's all the begging I'm going to do. I'm not going to push the smash that like button.
Please.
But we appreciate everybody that listens. We are
Absolutely.
getting, I did notice for Queen Part 1, we're like 30 something views. So in a week, that's
Not
pretty
bad,
good
yeah.
for us. I appreciate those 34 views, all 34 of you.
Yes, even if it's for 5 minutes or
Yes.
they hated it, at least they turned it on.
Exactly.
So it's more people the better.
Very good. So, all right, partner, well, enjoy your Christmas break
You too, brother.
and New Year's, and happy holidays to all your family and loved ones.
Same to you, man.
Thank you, everybody out
Drive
there.
safe wherever you're going, everybody.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll see you in a few weeks for Rush. So until then, we'll see you in the next one.
That's right. Rock on.
Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What would you say you do here?
God damn it. Bob, we love playing here tonight. My brother's ready.
It helps if you think of it as a game, Bob. Every game has a winner and a loser.
You must possess strength to inflict pain, Bob.